How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffled Rowlet, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, I want to do a little bit of a different video, as we kind of post about rumors and stuff all the time, so I thought something else would be slightly more fun. Now, this is inspired by a friend of mine on YouTube by the name of Mystic Umbreon, who's made a series of these sort of videos, but I know there's also other people out there who made these, but I saw some of his videos, and I was like, this looks awesome and really fun to do, so I thought, why not do it myself? I want to give you my opinion on every single Pokemon typing, but in this video, I'm going to be doing specifically Dragon-type Pokemon. But I also want to take the moment really quickly here to ask you guys in the comment section down below, please do me the favor and tell me in the comment section which typing do you want to see next. Just suggest it and I will do it. So please let me know in the comment section down below, and if there's enough interest in this and enough people enjoy it, I will do another video like this on a different typing. Either way, let's get into the actual countdown here, which will include, of course, both Pokemon that have, Dragon and a secondary typing. So I won't be doing just Pokemon with only Dragon typings, because that will be way too few Pokemon. Honestly, there's just like barely any of those, so it would be really hard to do that. But I'll be including Pokemon with secondary typings, and when I do cover their secondary typings in the future, let's say hypothetically a Pokemon that has, Dragon and like Fire typing, I will cover it again in the future, including it, when we're talking about the Fire typing of that Pokemon. So do keep that in mind. Either way, let's get started with the first one. So we start this off with Charizard, of course, Mega Charizard X, of course. So that's a Fire Dragon type, the Dragon typing is secondary, and I freaking love this Pokemon, okay? It was my favorite when the Megas came out, I loved it so much. The fact that its blue flames were a thing was fantastic. As a fan of Blue Exorcist, looks awesome. As for Alolan Exeggutor with its Grass Dragon typing, I think this thing is a long neck boy, and I like that, it's a thick boy. I've always thought Exeggutor was weird, so when this thing came around, I was like, well, hey, I mean, it looks cool, so whatever, dog. As for Dratini, this was my favorite Pokemon back in Generation 2, actually, because I remember going into this, like, temple with Dratinis and whatnot, and I was so excited to catch myself one. It was, like, one of my favorite Pokemon, and its shiny is my favorite as well. I love the pink shiny for it. Was trying really hard to get one in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. Dragonair just looks really cool, being like Dratini, but larger. That just, to me, is fantastic. Not really much else I can say about it. I can't really recall much else I think about it besides the fact that it's just a cool Pokemon, to be honest. Now, as for Dragonite, I feel way differently though, because Dragonite to me was the pinnacle of Generation 1. I still remember in the anime when that massive, like, huge Dragonite showed up in one of the episodes, which was really, really strange, and it still, like, boggles my mind what the deal was with that. I still remember that, and specifically with Dragonite, with its Dragon Flying typing, this thing was so strong in Gen 1, so definitely, like, one of my favorite Dragon types across the board. Now, Mega Ampharos. Okay, this is a lovely Pokemon. The fact that it got Dragon typing was really surprising back in the day when I saw this, as Ampharos is one of the favorite Pokemon of mine of all time. I just love it so much, and the fact that its Mega Evolution has Dragon typing of all things to it is just phenomenal. I mean, I love electric type Pokemon, and I love dragon type Pokemon, so it's like, a mixture of the two, just perfectly mashed up. Now, Kingdra is a Pokemon I mainly love because of YouTube, because one of my good friends, who I used to talk to a lot of before in the past, his mascot was Kingdra, and he used to do this funny intro where he used to say his name, and then, like, just a weird little sentence. So Kingdra to me has always had this, like, kind of nice, nostalgic feeling to it. But as for the Pokemon itself, though, I mean, Water Dragon, it's neat, it's nice, the design is clean as F. I mean, it looks awesome, that's all I'm gonna say. Now, Mega Sceptile is the most surprising thing I have ever seen. Like, I did not expect this thing to gain a Grass Dragon typing to it, or rather gain that Dragon typing. It was super surprising, and as someone who had Trico as his, like, starter Pokemon in my first ever Pokemon game that I played through, being Ruby, like, it was really surprising to see a Pokemon, like, that I loved having, Sceptile, just turn into this, like, beast, essentially, this behemoth, which also had a Dragon typing to it. Again, one of my favorite typings. So it was just kind of this nice feeling, if I'm going to be frankly honest. I freaking loved it, so, I mean, hey. Now, Vibrava is one Pokemon that I've never really cared much for. I've never really liked it much. I mean, I get some people love it, but I personally do not like Vibrava, but I do like its evolution, though, Flygon. I think Flygon is just one of the coolest Pokemon designs they've ever made, and a very underrated Pokemon that kind of gets left behind by Game Freak a lot of times. I mean, people have been wanting a Mega Flygon for the longest time right now, but they still just have not given them that, so I think for me personally, Flygon is just one of the best Pokemon. The ground dragon typing matches well together, and it's just a cool Pokemon design, but it just never gets that love that it deserves though. So yeah, that's personally what I think about that one. Now, Mr. Altaria-sama is a dragon flying type. Now, I've never really had that major love for Altaria. I remember it from the anime vaguely, and of course when playing through Ruby and whatnot, I remember it. It was always very, like, you know, cool looking Pokemon, being the fact that it's a straight up cloud. I mean, you guys have probably also seen that meme image of it, like, you know, when its wings or whatever are not like fluffy, which looks really creepy. But that's besides the point though. I think Altaria was very strange to me because I never understood the dragon typing to it. It was always a little bit confusing to me, but I don't know, that's personally what I felt about it. Overall, it's a cool Pokemon, but I don't really have that same connection to it as with other dragon type Pokemon. Now, as for Mega Altaria though, that thing being Dragon Fairy is just insane. I mean, that typing is just, you know, it's incredible. I'm gonna just say that right now. Though I think it's weird they got rid of that flying typing though. But I guess I kind of get it, so it's a bit strange. I will say that. It's a tad odd. Now, for this line of Pokemon, we got Egon, or Begon, which I freaking love this thing. Now, I always had an issue catching it. I always had a hard time getting it in the games when I play the games. So it's kind of a Pokemon that I have love and a little bit of hatred for. As for its evolution though, Shelgon, I just think this thing destroyed some of the times in like the battles I had. I think through like the victory road in Ruby, I remember like struggling against somebody who had a Shelgon, which I'm not sure why I did, but I remember I had an issue with that, so I got really angry. Actually, I think also Shelgon was one of the Pokemon to ruin one of my sleep locks once, a few years ago, so that, you know, angered me as well. But as for its final evolution though, you know, Salamence, that thing looks thick, boy. Like, I mean, seriously though, Salamence is just the coolest Pokemon ever. I loved seeing it in the Pokemon, you know, like, whatchamacallit then, Adventure, I guess, anime, or like the Ruby Sapphire season. The Gen 3 anime is the one which I'm trying to refer to here. I loved it in that one. I think it was an awesome Pokemon there. But as for its Mega Evolution, I mean, it's kind of weird. I kind of liked it, but the fact that it turns into essentially this like giant jet plane is kind of odd, I'm going to be honest and say. I never really liked that, but I did like it when I first saw it. I think it actually was my favorite Mega Evolution for a while, but I had a few issues with it like after they kind of showed the other, like, you know, the other styles for it. It's a little bit of an odd Mega, I will say. It's kind of strange, but I do kind of still like it though, so that's just how I feel about that one. Now, for Latias, I love Latias, and also Latios, and the reason for that is because of the Pokemon Heroes movie or whatever. I remember, like, getting that from the Ullared, which is a really big store, and I went there, and my parents, like, you know, there was, like, these CDs and whatnot, DVDs, and I remember specifically, like, asking my parents, can I buy this one? It was the Pokemon, you know, hero, you know, I think it's, what was it called again, like Heroes movie? I can't remember the exact name for it, but basically I remember picking that up, and I was super excited about it. I love the movie. I rewatched it so many times, and it's just, that's where my love for Latios and Latias comes from, and of course also the fact that I did love them in Generation 3 in general. And of course, for their Mega Evolutions, I'm a little bit disappointed, to be honest. Now, I would have preferred if they went for the purple design for one of them, and maybe a different color for the other one. Next up is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, Rayquaza. Now, I love Rayquaza for one major reason, and that is its shiny. Its shiny is one of the coolest Pokemon shinies ever created. I just freaking love it. And when it Mega Evolves, when you get Mega Rayquaza, and it's shiny as well, that is the, like, most insane thing of all time. Now, I love this thing, like, so freaking much. Now, next up is Gibble, Gabite, Garchomp, and Mega Garchomp. Now, as for Gibble, I think Gibble is just a cute little Pokemon. I did like it in the anime a lot, when Ash had one. As for Gabite, though, I think it's really, like, a step up from the, you know, from Gibble's, essentially, being, like, this, you know, hunkier, cooler, dragon-esque design. And then, finally, Garchomp, of course. I mean, there's really not much you can say about Garchomp besides it's one of the coolest Pokemon ever created. I put it up there at the top, you know, with like Darkrai and whatnot, like, you know, stuff like that. That's where I put it. So definitely one of the coolest Pokemon of all time. As for its Mega Evolution, I like it, though I feel like they could have done even more for it. But I think it's good enough to a point where, you know, it looks badass and it looks cooler than normal Garchomp. So I'm all Gucci with it. Now we've got Dialga. So Dialga is just a badass Pokemon. Now personally, I owned Pokemon Diamond. I didn't own Pokemon Pearl, so I was, you know, always going for that Dialga, essentially. I always got myself a Dialga, so, you know, personally, to me, Dialga is really close to my heart, because I remember playing through Platinum, as well as, you know, Diamond Pokemon, Pokemon Diamond, essentially. I never played through Pearl, Dialga specifically, and I love it. The Steel Dragon typing is just perfect. It's just a perfect counter against something like a, you know, fairy type. Having that steel typing in there just comes in neatly. So it's definitely one of the, you know, like one of my favorite Pokemon out there, and I love using it. So definitely a cool Pokemon. It's shiny as well. Looks really, really cool. Now, as for Palkia, though, Palkia, I've never had a connection to, and that's because I never owned a Pokemon Pearl, and I never really cared for Palkia in, like, any of the other games I played, or, like, when I replayed, you know, Pearl or Platinum or anything like that. I never really cared for Palkia that much. I've owned the Pokemon, but I never really cared for it. I mean, it's got Water Dragon typing, which is just not as interesting to me as Steel Dragon, which is just so freaking, like, you know, badass together. So, I don't know. But next up, though, is Giratina. Okay, so I love Giratina. It is the most badass Pokemon they've ever created. I mean, this is literally the reincarnation of the devil in Pokemon, you know, form. That's what this is essentially to me. This thing is just like a fallen angel that's fallen to, you know, this underworld essentially, and it is so freaking cool. Now, as for its origin form, though, I think it looks cool as well. I mean, there's really not much else I can say about it. It just, you know, looks essentially like Giratina, but, you know, just like it's flying, essentially. Not too much of a difference there, but overall, a cool Pokemon. I do also like its shiny. I will say that. I think its shiny looks really, really sick, so definitely a badass Pokemon for sure. And it was kind of the highlight, I think, from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, as well as Pokemon Platinum, or rather, from Pokemon Platinum. It was a highlight when you went to, like, you know, the Distortion World, and the Distortion World is definitely one of the coolest features they've ever made into a Pokemon game. Just so freaking cool. Exew, I do remember vaguely using through my Black and White 2 playthrough. Fracture, I definitely remember, because I remember, like, you know, using that to level up, and then eventually Haxorus as well, I remember really well for two particular reasons, because that was the Pokemon I used against the Elite Four when playing through Black and White 2. I remember. Now, next up is Druddigon. Now, I don't care for Druddigon. Now, it's not a bad looking Pokemon per se. I think most of all the dragon type Pokemon they've made have been really, really good looking, but I think Druddigon is one of my least favorite because of the fact that I just never got that connection to it. Now, Dano is a weird Pokemon. I like that it's a dragon dog type, or dog dragon type rather. I do like that, but I do not like its kind of like base design. Now, I don't like Dano specifically, nor do I like Swaylos either. It's kind of weird, I know, I'm sorry. But I do like Hydreigon, though. I think Hydreigon kind of, like, encapsulates the design the best, because I do not like the whole, like, eyes closed because of its, like, fur or whatever in front of its eyes. Now, next up is going to be Reshiram and Zekrom. Now, Reshiram, first of all, is a Dragon Fire type, and this thing is just so freaking badass, dude. This is such a cool Pokemon, and I don't even know what else to say. But then also Zekrom, though, is even better because it's a dragon electric type, and as I said, electric types are some of my favorite, so mixing dragon and electric together is just perfection. I just love that so much. And next we have Kyurem, and we've got Kyurem, I guess, you know, we got normal Kyurem, we got black Kyurem, and white Kyurem. Now, for normal Kyurem, never really fell for it that much, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really enjoy it that much, but I did, though, like black Kyurem a lot. I think Black Kyurem is really cool, the way it's kind of like hulking forward, you know, kind of like it's just, you know, the fusion is making it too heavy and whatnot. That kind of like hulking design looks really, really cool. And also White Kyurem just looks really majestic, so definitely cool as well. Love them too, like both together, just perfection in my opinion. I love both those. And also the fact that this was made in Generation, you know, 5, you know, back then, it was kind of like interesting for one factor, and that's the fact that, you know, Dragon was only really weak against, like, I guess, a few typings, and one of those typings was Ice. Ice is what it was weak against. So having a Pokemon that had also that typing made these really, really strong. I mean, Kyurem and, you know, Black Kyurem and White Kyurem, they were really strong. Let's just put it that way. Super strong. Dragalge. So Dragalge is a Poison Dragon type. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't care for this Pokemon. I don't think it looks cool. I don't like its design. I know a lot of people do like it, and I'm sorry for just personally not really liking it. Again, Generation 6 is when I least was, you know, into Pokemon, and not because I didn't want to be into Pokemon, but I couldn't afford it at the time. I couldn't afford getting a 3DS, so I never got to experience X and Y, you know, during its high, you know, heyday and whatnot, only so Let's Plays. And I think Tyrant actually gives me the same feeling. It's a cute little, you know, dinosaur or whatever, but again, never really got attachment to it. It does kind of remind me of, like, the T-Rex from, you know, Jurassic Park. Tyrantrum, though, is really badass, and it does give you that feeling of, like, you know, a giant T-Rex looking design. So definitely really cool, but never really had an attachment to it personally, so never really a Pokemon that I love that much. Now, next up is actually one of my favorite lines in terms of the generation 6 series of games, and that has to be Goomy, and Goomy is just adorable. I loved it in the anime. I loved Ash having a Kingdra eventually as well. It's just so freaking adorable. Now, of course, you got Goomy, you got Sligo, and then of course got Kingdra. Now, I'm really surprised these Pokemon didn't get like a poison typing. I always kind of wondered during, you know, the anime's run that, you know, why wouldn't they gain something like that? And it was always a little bit strange, but I always loved, you know, these, like this just line of Pokemon. Like Goomy's line is just perfect. Now, personally, I do not care for Noibat, and I know some people will hate me for it. I do like Noivern. I think Noivern's really cool, but Noibat I hate, and that's because of my hatred for Zubat. Noivern, though, is really cool, and I did like it in the anime as well. I think it was really cool alongside Ash, so Noivern is really badass, but I ain't feeling that Noibat, though, dog. Now, next up, we have 50% form Zygarde, and I'm gonna say I really never liked Zygarde. I really think they kind of misplayed their cards on this one, and they really didn't, like, you know, complete it fully. It just never really felt complete to me. But then, of course, they did the whole Zygarde 10% form as well, which has got this wolf design to it, and again, I really didn't care for it. I think it's a cool design for sure, but I never really cared for it. And then, of course, I think the one that ruined it for me the most was definitely complete Zygarde form, or like Zygarde complete form. This one I just do not like. It looks like a Transformers, for crying out loud. I just don't think it fit well into Pokemon. Now, next up is Turtonator, and I hate Turtonator. May sound weird, but it kind of like gives me this disgusting feeling, because puke feeling for some reason, and that's why I just really dislike it. It just never caught on with me. Now it's your boy Drampa. I mean, this is just Snoop Dogg as a Pokemon, okay? Now, Jangmo, though, I do like. I think Jangmo is just really, really cool as a design. Hakamo-O. It's so weird. But, you know, I always kind of like, just thought it was a little bit strange with the middle evolution here. Hakamo. But then Komo is actually the best one, I think. It just looks really cool. But I do dislike its colors, though. I think the coloring is just a little bit off, and its shiny is the most ugly thing I've ever seen. I just do not like it that much. Mr. Gus Lord. Now, Gus Lord is a dark dragon type, and I do not like this Pokemon. It is just creepy and weird. I mean, it is an Ultra Beast, so it's a little bit different, but I just never really liked it, if I'm going to be frankly honest. As for the next one, though, which is the Ultra Necrozma, or Necrozma, I mean, this one is just odd, okay? I think it's a cool Pokemon. It was really hard to beat in Ultra Sun and Moon. It was really strong. Like, it was genuinely a really good boss battle. But as for the design and just the way the Pokemon looks, I mean, it's cool, but I never really fell for it, if I'm going to be frankly honest. Now, as for the final one on this list, though, that's going to be Naganadel. I actually think is just a cool-ass Pokemon. It looks badass. I like it shiny as well. Really cool Pokemon in general. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the end of the video, though. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, then drop a like down below. Sorry for this one being really long. I really should have made this video shorter, but I do hope you guys enjoyed it, though. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.